permanent means we want to create systems which are permanent over a long time without having to work too much. Means we would like to let nature do the work for us. So, and easiest way to do is just to abandon it, but then maybe we don't eat what we would like to eat, and maybe we don't have a real productive forest in this case. So what we can do, we can design it to an agriculture, because culture means man-made or human-made, and so we go into this permanent, but we guide it to that we have food, shelter, energy, all from nature in a sustainable way. Then we go to agri, and agri means soil, and so it's agriculture means the culture of soil, which means the man-made or maintained soil. But nowadays agriculture is confused with a very high productive and abusive system, which means that it's not really a culture, it's actually we destroy soils. With the permaculture ethics, let's say the ethics, it's a little bit small. Earth care on the first, and you have people care, which means, I mean, earth care, people care is kind of no comment, so it's very clear what it means. And the return of surplus, before it was called fair share, which is fine, but this is much more connected to what nature does anyway. So if we have, for example, an overproduction of vegetables, we can do two things. We can return it to people. We could share it, we can just give it away as a gift, we can sell it, and we can also give it back to earth. We can compost it, we can mulch it, we can do many stuff to give it back to earth. And this is very essential to close the cycles again be broken up. Closing cycles is probably the most important thing we have to do in these days, because we've broken up the water cycle. So instead of having water infiltrating into the earth body and recharging aquifers, having the spring again, going into rivers, into lakes, to the sea, and doing the whole cycle with the sun pulling up the rain, pulling up the water, creation of clouds and raining again. This cycle we broken up because we, through agriculture, which is not really what it should be, we destroy soils, but soil is not capable anymore to absorb the water, so we cut in half the water cycle. So there is less and less springs, less and less groundwater, and as we can see in this region, many times we have a big drought and flood cycle, because all the rain which usually would be absorbed is flowing down at once. So we have floods, and then in dry season, like just we have no water in the rivers, and this is not natural. This is human-made. But there are techniques which could be implied pretty easy, not so expensive, to recover this water cycle. And the other one is the nutrition cycle. So nowadays we are very used to soil into water. We wouldn't make black water, we wouldn't create this kind of toxic water, we have to treat afterwards very intensely to get back water and nutrition. Or like it is here, mostly it goes straight to the sea without any treatment. So even cities do that. One important thing is to appreciate our soil, our shit again, and give it back to nature, which would be actually people return their surplus to earth. So these cycles you can observe in nature almost anywhere where nature is intact still. These ethics you can apply to anything you do in your daily life. You can do it when you're planning your Finca. You can do it when you wake up in the morning and do your breakfast. You can do it when you go to work. But it means you are aware of what you're doing. And having this in mind, maybe you could say, stop, I want to change that. It doesn't mean that you have to do it tomorrow. We have to be perfect permaculturists or perfect people which are living sustainable, but it means we aim to there. So we design our lives that we end up where we want to be. And this means to comprehend where we are now and to accept where we are now and do the first steps in the right direction. A sustainable system produces at least as much energy as it needs for sustaining itself and replacing itself over time. You will find downslope and it will recharge about 7 years till it's kind of full. So like you have a huge amount of water you can store here. And of course when the water is here, then you can start to plant trees here as well. You can start straight away, but in the beginning maybe you don't have the water. Okay. If you have a big water tank up, you can feed but if it's only rain feeded, maybe you start here, and then when you see like water table is rising, you start to plant here as well. And of course, again, when you build such a swale, you want to make sure that there is an overflow, and the overflow should be easiest way is it flows into the valley where it flowed before anyway, or maybe it flows into a pond, or it flows into another swale. This is like, then you can start to play with water. Plant mostly pioneer trees, which means they are fast growing, nitrogen fixing, mostly leguminous from the bee family. They are drought tolerant, the most of it. So we plant them, we irrigate them for 1-2 years, and then we take away the irrigation. It would be possible, there are some types, especially this one. This is the Prosopis alba. Prosopis family is a desert family. They grow very quick, and they don't. You could plant them in desert, and they would wait. They would survive on only dew for several years, and then even in the desert there is rain sometimes. So if the rain is coming, they take this opportunity. They grow, and then they wait again and survive with the dew for the next year or two. This is a very, very powerful tree. House in the middle, this would be zone 0, which could be this house, but in this case we have a little bit special situation because the houses are very distributed all over. So maybe have a lot of zone 0, or maybe we say for the beginning the kitchen this is the communal kitchen, so everyone is eating here. Means this is kind of the center. Definitely the center. So what we have here is then the zone 1. Means very frequently visited, and I would say like every day, several times. And that's why you want to have it very close to zone 0 where you live. So you want to have zone 1 very close. Then zone 2 we're gonna visit vegetable garden. Also frequently visited. Is naked, that we have enough space below, but on the, it's called the coppice, means we leave only the upper parts of the tree creating shade, and as soon the winter is coming, we start to cut off. Wintertime we have all the sunlight coming in, and then as they grow they start to protect and give shade again, so we leave it for the summer, and then wintertime coming again, we cut again. In the same time, we have mulch material, or also composting material. This is high in nitrogen because it has a lot of chlorophyll, and this can go down as mulch straight instead of straw. And then you have even a better feeder because it's not only carbon, it's nitrogen as well. If you cut the tree down, the roots, they want to be in equilibrium, so the roots start to die off as well. And because this is a nitrogen fixing tree, means they do little nodules on the roots, which is actually the house of the bacteria, which is
in symbiosis with the tree, capturing nitrogen from the air and accumulating it into a little knot. And if the tree starts to die, the bacteria starts to die too, because the tree is putting sugar down to the roots from photosynthesis and from CO2. This is actually the food for the bacteria. So if the roots dies, the bacteria has to die too. And it's eaten up from other bacteria, and it's like an effect of distribution. The bacteria is eating up the next bacteria and so on. So the nitrogen goes through the food cycle to the other vegetables you have around. So this is a very convenient system to fertilize your garden with the least effort possible. Yeah, it's kind of succulent. And this is perennial, so it could substitute at a certain extent the salad, and it will grow with less water and less attention than salad, because you plant it once and then you harvest without replanting. It grows from cuttings, so you cut a little tiny bit and then you put it in soil and it will grow. It's much less work if you would decide to eat from plants like those. Hibiscus, you know hibiscus. So usually we know only the tea from hibiscus, but you can eat the flowers just as they are, and the leaves as well, and they're very healthy. Of a tree, the highest content of nitrogen is in the seed, then the seed pod or the fruit, and then the leaves, then the twigs, the stem or the branches stem, and so on. So that's why I want to keep the leaf below the old mulch to make sure the nutrients go down and not just evaporate. Means this compost hole will just the compost is decomposing, and the roots will search the nutrients straight away from here. So you don't have to. It's the lazy way of compost. This is full, so we have another hole there, and we have even the possibility to do another hole there. So when this is from this zone 0, this house there, and they bring the compost here. Or also called in Latin, it's Gachanus gachan. This is I think more or less a year old now from seed, but down below the same age, but you see different results. Nitrogen fixing, drought tolerant. The seed pods and the seeds are edible. Very good bush, but it doesn't live so long. It lives maybe for 5 years or something like that. But it's a very good pioneering plant, and especially in food forest, you want to have such elements in the beginning to establish the forest and to create good soil and biomass. So what usually you would do is establish a food forest. You start with 90% or even 95%. Is it right like this? 90% support species, which is this one, the Lysina. Then you could do green fertilizing with broad beans and veg and other usually beans, annual beans as well. So you start with 90% and only 10% with productive trees. This is the Yuyuba or Asufaifo, makes a date-like fruit, very sweet. pressure. And everywhere where you have high pressure, you have very good possibility that you do cloud seeding. And where cloud seeding is it's much more probable that you will get rain. So and you will have more production here. You can go up to 20% of windbreak. Let's say you have a land of 100 hectares. You do 20 hectares. You do windbreaks, and you will not lose production because thanks to the windbreaks you have more production in the other space. And if you do the windbreaks with nitrogen fixing trees, for example, or even fruit trees, you will have a surplus. You will have even more productive because the windbreak is not only a windbreak, it's also fertility or
helping the soil.
Fruit-bearing element. Okay.